What's the best way to structure internal links? Welcome to the We Don't Play podcast. Welcome to the space where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. And today we're going to talk about internal links. And for those who want to know what internal links are, or if you are aware of it, but maybe need a refresher or maybe a different perspective, an internal link is technically a phrase or a sentence or even a word that you highlight, and that highlight turns into a link. Now, we can say text or hypertext, because when you think about HTML, it's hypertext markup language, right? So if we know that we're using hypertext markup language, then internally, the algorithms understand messaging by tagging. They understand messaging by keywords. They understand messaging by workflows. So if you're able to create content, it is going to have internal links. And these internal links are linking back to your website, because an internal link technically means that you have another link on your page, another link on your website that is relevant to the page that you currently are sending people from. So that's technically an internal link. There are two types of links. There are internal links and there are external links, right? Internal links are internally connected to each other. So I would say, click here. Here's About Us. The About Us section is here. Or click Contact to learn more about our services. Okay, click Contact Us. Or here's our gallery. Click Gallery. You click Gallery. If you have a product page, you have 3 products. You're not going to give them 3 product links. Those links are internal. So how do you structure internal links? It doesn't just start off with picking a link and put it into a text. Think about it like a sandwich. You know, some people like their sandwich with mayonnaise, some like it with ketchup, some like it however they like it, right? Some people like it with onions. Some people don't like it with pickles. Some people like their sandwiches the way they like their sandwiches. So if you think about a sandwich, right, the way you want to build a sandwich is the way you want to taste it and the way you want to like it and the way you want to enjoy it. Take that same analogy and look at your website. If I'm talking about, it's lunchtime, right? Let's talk about double cheeseburger, right? If I have a double cheeseburger and I have a recipe, a homemade recipe for double cheeseburger, and maybe I can just use that as an example. Now, the word double cheese is more than one, and then there's the burger, so it's a cheeseburger. So if people are looking for cheeseburger recipes, they're going to see this as one of the options. So now, how do you make this into a sandwich? If I say on my website, here are the best double cheeseburger recipes for the holidays. When I started from the word best all the way to holidays, I highlight the whole text and then I create a link. And let's say there's a product link on my website that says yourwebsite.com/product or product page / double cheese burger recipe. That's probably a recipe book on my website. Now, because the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, has the words double cheeseburger recipe, and I highlighted the words as I typed as double cheeseburger, then that means when I highlight the text and then I link the text to another link. Welcome, sis. Been a while. Welcome, Marcus. Peace and Banks. Thanks for being here. When you hyperlink a text, and when you hyperlink a text, and that link is the same word or the same phrase that you used both in the URL end in the text description or the description text, that's a cheeseburger. That's I'll call it a mashup. Welcome, Royfield. That's a mashup, because what is happening technically, right, is that you have a website that if ChatGPT, Alexa, Siri, Google, or any other platform or search engine is looking for cheeseburger recipes for the holidays, why wouldn't your website show up? That's a really serious question, because if you don't think it's going to show up, then it means you probably didn't do it correctly. But the best way to structure internal links is to create a link from the text and then hyperlink the text back to the link. That's technically what you need to do. If that's the answer to the question for today's topic, this is it. The best way to structure internal links is to focus on the text and then link the text to the context. That's where you came from, where the link started from. So if I know I'm creating a blog or I'm creating a contact page, I'm not going to call my contact page /contact when it's supposed to be /about. So when it's contextually connected, the semantic way of the web is technically for you to create these things, because in actual algorithmic language, if I can say it like that, is a link that I've put in the chat for you. And you can click the link in the chat so you can see it. It's Google search documentation and from Search Central. And you can check it out too, and check them out and see if you'd like to get more information like this. And they even give you the blueprint. They talk about what you need to do. And when you look at these keywords that I've mentioned, there's a section that talks about anchor text placement. That's a very important part. Anchor text placement. That's what I've just been also known as a link text, right? Because it's a visible text of a link. If you say click here, where is here? Here is nowhere. You're more likely to click on that link because that link now has context. And now when you click on that link, you're expecting to see a recipe book behind that link. Or when you click that link, you're expecting to see a new page that has that recipe book. So you've already preconditioned the cause and effect, because now you know that if I click this link, I'm expecting to see that. So as a business, how do you best structure internal links? If you really think about internal links, you're thinking about it from the point of view where you're creating a spider web. So one best practice, right, is to link old pages to new pages and link new pages back to old pages. When you create links between the new and the old pages, you're creating a bridge. And this bridge is going to be created because if I'm talking about one topic, one category, one tag, and I'm tagging everything else I'm talking about back to this article, then at some point, someone's going to find this tag relevant or find this link relevant. So I'm creating a possibility for someone to find it because they're looking for more information like this. Before I got even into this room, we're running Pinterest ads for clients, and one of them, I added some new things into the campaign, and I'll just share with you briefly just to show you how important links are, just in context for today's discussion. When I was looking at the ads, because we're running about 8 different creatives within one ad set, and we're looking at it from a brand awareness perspective, which is driving a lot of traffic. So we said, okay, you know what? We're going to add more to this traffic because we want to see exactly who's really interested in these things. So I split it into 3. There's a blog, there is a product page, And the blog is a guide technically, because that guide will help you make more decisions on the product page. And then after the product page, you now have, I'll call it a collection page. So all these pages are leading to different platforms or different things. So I said, you know what? Instead of linking to the product page, let's internally link on Pinterest to the checkout page. Because if a lot of people are clicking on this link, most times people want to get a product, but they're not sure if they get ready to get it now or not. If they're ready, they're going to get it. If they're not, they're probably going to wait. When people get to the checkout, there's always I don't know what it is. It's either friction or it's frictionless. It's really up to you on how you see money and how money should be a servant and not a slave. Because when you look at money and you look at your time, you look at your energy, you look at your links, you look at where people are clicking to, you want to save people time. And that's why internal links are very important, because the more contextual you are with your linking, the more time you save and the more time you earn. Why? Because if I send you to the homepage instead of sending you to the product page, or if I send you to the menu page, or I send you to a general page instead of sending you to a policy page or sending you to an exact blog within a section of the page that you need answers on, let's say an FAQ or glossary, then I've given you more of a response system that actually increases the trust score. So now the more you're trusting me because you're showing up in this platform, the more you're able to get more information long term. So as you're creating content, your content is not just for the purpose of creating content always. It's creating content so that your internal links become the factor that's going to lead to those results that you're looking for from the beginning. So that's why I said earlier that it's good to connect links to each other, back links, new links, old links, internal links, external links. These links are all interconnected. So when you now create content and you start sending them to a checkout page like I have mentioned with Pinterest, you're now limiting the stress. Because most times when people click on links, they don't know what to expect. So they have about 5 to 10 seconds to make a decision, sometimes 7, sometimes more than 7. So if you're looking at this from a long-term perspective, welcome Austin, the goal is to make sure that more people are finding your links relevant, and they're also finding them consistently connected back to what they're coming for. And the more you're able to send people to direct pages, the faster. Now, if I give you an example, right, and I say, shop this look, because I know we're in the holiday season and a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of shopping ads or e-commerce ads. Now, imagine your internal link is an internal link to your checkout page. Now, if person A comes to your product page, welcome Zainab, and person B comes to your checkout page, what's going to happen is that the person who goes to the product page is going to read about the product. And because they're reading about the product, they're going to take time to decide on the product. Now, person B, welcome Rocky. Hey, see how I'm there? Person has been sent directly to the checkout page. So who do you think is going to have a much higher conversion? Person who went to the product page or the person who went to the checkout page? So I want us to, think about that. You can put that in the chat. Hey, Rocky, welcome.
Oh, hi. Why do you hop on stage unmuted? Like, that's some bull crap.
No, you didn't say anything. I was like, Rocky, are you there?
Okay, but I'm here burping and everything and no.
Let's get this Rocky real quick. And also for those who are here, welcome. I see you, Ryan, Rogers, Ram, Ladaro. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you for being here. Rocky, if you were to run a commercial or ad or just put an internal link somewhere, even if it's in an email, would you put it to, let me say it this way to make it more contextual for the room. If you had a text that said shop this look and you highlight that text, would you send the link to a product page, or would you send it to a checkout page, and why?
Is there a picture of the look already there,
Yeah,
or
yes,
is it
there's
just the
yes, there's a
text?
picture of the look, because when you shop this look, the look is the product that they see.
I would just send it to a checkout page if they got all the information in the email or whatever I sent. And I do that with my digital products too. If I've already talked about what the product is, it goes to the product page because the product page has all the information on it as well. Because if you send them to the website, they're going to shop around and they're not going to shop the look. Just my opinion.
That's true, because they'll be shopping around instead of shopping the actual look that they saw. Because sometimes people get, I'll call it shiny object syndrome, and then they're just not able to come back or kind of going down a rabbit hole. So it's definitely important to look at it that way. So I love that you mentioned that, Rocky. Hey, Ryan, thanks for joining us. What's up? Happy October. But
Happy October,
if,
Ryan.
if Ryan is speaking, he's probably muted. Or maybe Ryan's not here. Ryan going once. Anyway, Ryan is probably gonna just jump right in when he's ready. But
Sorry about that. My kid, my kid was needing some help.
checkout page, product page, internal links. What do you see? Structure.
I did an e-com site for barn door hardware and specialty, heavy hardware, and they had like a lookbook, and it was mostly commercial clients. So there was no online ordering system, but we actually built a pre-populated form. So they would click on, it was a lookbook, and it was just a bunch of images with image maps over the top. So you could click on the products in the picture, and it would go directly to a contact form with the, I want the quote on this product. But in general, I feel like you should probably, I agree with you that people will get lost, right? Versus it's like, okay, if you can do like a one-click checkout, like, buy now, they're clicking it and it's going straight to adding it to the cart and pushing them directly to the checkout. That's probably the way to go.
I agree. Rocky, go ahead.
Am I still unmuted? What's
Muted,
happening?
but I
I
don't hear
promise
you.
you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I left, and it seems like when I leave, and it unmutes.
No, you're fine. Thank you for that feedback too. It's very important to look at your analytics, look at your conversion rates, look at your conversion lifts, look at your performance. It's so important to look at these things. And why I was even asking about this is because when you look at internal links, most times we forget that these links are active, especially if they're not broken. These links are active. And the more active these links are, the more, I want to give it a really good phrase to back this up. The more value, the more value this link has. Because when I publish this link for the first time on the internet, it's going within a ticker, right? Like the article I posted, this was yesterday, about Flowdesk, because I talked about Flowdesk yesterday, and Flowdesk Unlimited is going away November 28th, and I told people, hey, sign up, get your account, because instead of paying standard tier pricing, get unlimited pricing right now and save money in the future as you're scaling your business. So people will decide on if they want to do that or not. Some people did, some people are still thinking about it. At the end of the day, it's up to you. Now, when I talked about that internal linking, if you now go to Google and type in Flowdesk unlimited pricing, that article I wrote yesterday is now showing up within the first top results on Google. Now, when I looked at it before I even published it, I was looking at who out there is at the top. because this is something that we do with clients. This is what we do for ourselves. And it's something that you should know too. When you're looking for something to rank for, how do you show up? We're building a website right now with a client, and we're focusing on something called travel concierge. So I learned so much from my clients because they're so broad, they're so different. Travel concierge, there's actually a way people travel luxury with concierge traveling that is so specific to the market. And there's something called bleisure. I didn't even know that till my client told me. It's bleisure, like business leisure. So I'm doing studies and I'm understanding where all these things are coming from. And I want to understand, okay, who are the companies that are talking about these things? So I do a search on my website and I'm able to say, oh, okay, this person from this place is searching for this product at this time. So these are the links that I should be focusing on. So when I look at the blogs and I look at the products, I'm like, okay, which products actually here make the most sense? And that's why we use Pinterest to really bring this even better. Because when you have a visual image of something and someone can click to it and go straight to checkout, it's perfect. It's like going to a grocery store. You want milk, you want eggs, you want whatever you want. By the time you pick what you want, you're going to checkout. You're not going to be hanging around and doing kumbaya. You're going to be heading to checkout. So if you treat the same thing on your website, it's and I'm having a red bar. So if you guys can hear me, please let me know. This is something that is important because when you have a checkout link, that link, you can copy that link and paste it into your email. Copy that link, paste it into your Pinterest. Copy that link, paste it into your blogs. Copy that link, paste it into your podcast. These are things that you can successfully do. Like, you don't even have to pay for this information. This is information you can do because it's something you already do. When someone says click here, what are you doing? You're copying and you're pasting. The difference is what you're copying and what you're pasting has to make sense, and it has to result in a search algorithmic database. That's why you're not just doing it for your website. When you're doing things on LinkedIn, doing things on Pinterest, it's important to look at these things because that's what people are searching for. The more you keep saying the same words over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, the more your website now becomes the point or the reference or the citation or the brand or the go-to. There are other clients I can talk about. We're doing completely different things. Some is like home decor, some is hardware, some is travel. Like I see so many different things and I'm amazed that all these products and all these businesses and all these brands are winning because they're able to do something called structural marketing. I don't know if even that's even a word or a thing, but I would call it structural marketing. Why? Because if you think about a structure has discipline, a structure has rules, a structure has formulas, a structure has metrics, a structure has data, a structure has a foundation. So if the foundation is your website and your website has pages, these pages have to be active. We're almost done with 2025 and I can bet you there are at least a million websites that haven't updated their 2025 website with the word 2025, at least, because there are 1.1 billion websites in the world. So at least 1 million for sure. I can definitely see that, because when you start looking at websites, active websites, domains, it's different. I was looking at some news earlier today. I think it's about 54.8%. It might be more or less, but it's in the 50s. And right now, what I'm seeing is that Google, the Google that we all know, the AI mode has contributed to about 50 something plus percent of our space, our actual real estate space. So you know how back in the day before AI mode, you'd go to Google, you see like the 3 advertisements, and then you now see organic listings, and then you see people also ask, like you remember how it used to be. Now it's different, and we can all see that, right? Where AI mode will show up first, you get all the results, and then you now go ahead to people also ask, and then you go to the actual links, or you go to the links before people also ask. Now, those links that you see on Google are called internal links. I don't know if this makes sense, because these internal links are coming from your website to another page. So if somebody is going to Google, like if you type in, I'm looking for recipes for this, Google is going to give you a results page that is an internal link, because in its internal link, there's an internal database. So the same way, if someone comes to your website and you have a search bar and you sell products and you're looking for candy, or you're looking for, teddy bear, or you're looking for flowers, or you're looking for something that is specific, you're looking for cars, whatever it is that you're searching for on the web, it's going to pull from an index. It's going to pull from an inventory. It's going to pull from a source. So if that source is not there, actually, let me say it this way. If your source, because you already have a source, which is a website, but if your source doesn't have a resource, it's like saying you go to the well, but there's no water in the well. So what's the point of the well if there's no water in the well? The point of the well is for you to draw water from the well. So if you're not drawing content from your website and pulling it up to other search engines, then how are you creating content for people to see on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? Because these content pieces that we talk about every day, these are things that we put out on the internet. So if we're structuring our content by marketing it correctly, we're tagging the right things. When you go on LinkedIn and you tag a company, you go and tag a name, you tag a profile, you tag something, that tag is going to send a signal to Google, because now you've tagged something. So if there's a news report or there's a news update and you're looking for social, I'll even call it UGC content based on what's happening about that brand, you're going to find that content online, either on TikTok or LinkedIn or Pinterest or Google or YouTube or Threads. You'll find it somewhere, or even X too, Twitter. So when you look at internal links, look at them differently. If you're in a local area, this is also for you too, because SEO could be local, SEO could be regional, it could be national, it could also be international. So when we work, we get to ask you these questions because we want to know what kind of business you operate at. Some businesses are international. We've worked with international, we've worked with national, we've worked with regional, we've worked with local. So when you're able to really know, do you have multiple locations? Do you have a single location? Are you online? Are you a hybrid? Those questions are very important because you're able to understand the metro, the area, the zone, how people are able to connect with you, the consumer behavior, the mindset. When people are choosing where they want to go, where they want to live, they think about where they want to go based on their time, how much time they're spending, how much time, away or there from the school. Maybe their kids are going to school in an area that's close by, maybe 5 minutes drive or 10 minutes, somewhere that's close, that's safe, that's secure, that's friendly. That's a place that you can feel like you are home, right? So those places also play a big role because the places around it makes a big difference. Because when you think about homes, residential and commercial, when you think about residential homes being built first, you start seeing commercial buildings being built around them, right? It starts off with residential because the people who live there will need things around. They'll need grocery stores. They'll need this, they'll need that. They'll need gas stations. Whatever they need is going to be surrounded and put within that area. So when you start thinking about internal links, the way people think about structuring a road, you put this before that, and then this happens, and then that happens. That's the same way your website should look. So when you think about the best structure and you have 3 locations, these 3 locations should be on your website in form of a Google map link. If you go to Google Maps, you can copy a link of your address and then put that address into your website, either as a map that someone can see or a link someone can click, or both. And another thing too is when you put, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but also do your research. I just love giving you information, but also do your research. Whenever you put a location on your website, whatever website you have, if there's a location there and it's being indexed on the search engines, technically that location is going to be where you're going to be pulling from first. That's why if you have a brick and mortar and you have a location and it's on Google Maps, or even if it's an online store that doesn't have a Google Map location, but you're putting an address or a city there, a city or state, you're able to literally, it's called on-page SEO. So that on-page SEO is telling the algorithm that, hey, this person is in Hawaii, this person is in Brazil, this person is in fill in the blank, and this is where this business is, or this is where this profile is, or this is where this person is. And it's a way to also allow someone to feel like, okay, this person is probably serving this location or being in this area. So by creating those zones, it allows your website to also have a much larger impact long term. So if you think about your business right now and ask yourself, where am I going to be in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 12 months, and I want to structure my website better, internal linking is the best way to go. Because when you internally link your content, even for podcasts, right? Even for YouTube, even for LinkedIn, internal links is not just your website, it's everything. If you tell someone, hey, click this Facebook link or click this YouTube link, you want someone to click on that link and go to another page on your site. Think about LinkedIn newsletters, for example. That's a perfect example. If you have a LinkedIn newsletter and you have 10 newsletters and you're about to drop your 11th one, before you publish your 11th one, you're going to tag at least the top 3 or top 5 ones that are connected to this last one, this next 11th one. So if you're thinking about your internal structure and your internal connections online when you're linking content, focus on creating dynamic content that allows people to find you and also give them a red carpet. That's really what internal linking is. It's a red carpet, because if I click this link and it takes me to another section of your website, then I'm on a new page that I've not seen, which gives me an experience of what I'm feeling about your brand. So there's going to be a big role when it comes to understanding those things and then measuring that out. So if you have a local business, you can hypertext that information. If you live in this state or this city, this state, hyperlink that text and then copy that link, paste it into that text and link it. When you're linking it as well, don't forget, this is something that I also noticed too, which is a huge mistake, but it's also something that should not be an oversight. When you link something, and I'll say this once, when you interlink a text, or when you're doing hypertext and you're doing a markup language where you're connecting it to somewhere, right? When you create this content and you're putting this content out for people to see, please do this. Use the HTTPS link, right? Use a secure link, because if you don't use that link and you're hyperlinking to a link that doesn't have the S in it, because it's HTTP without the S, then it's going to have a completely different pathway, success model. It's going to have a different experience. It might bounce back or it might redirect, but you don't want to go through all those things. Just do it clean. The cleaner it is, the faster it is, the better it is, the sharper it is, the more you retain and the more you earn. Because these links that you're putting out there are going to be live forever. 10 years from now, God willing, those links will still be active. If you go back to if you've been writing articles for years and you go back to your previous websites or your links, you'll see that you have links out there. These links, you've posted them before. You've posted them somewhere. If you have emails you've been sending out and these emails have links and these links don't work after a certain time, what essence or what value is the email? Because these links need to have activity. That's why when you have a website and that website has internal links, it saves you the stress, because now instead of linking every page to every place, you're putting one place within one page, but using all these pages to reconnect back to your site. So the more internal links you have, the better, especially if or new ones back to the old one, you realize that the old links will show up on the new web pages, and the new web pages will also display the old links. So before you know it, you now have a spider web that now from any point they come from, they can still meet the other side of the page because you've given them a pathway to that success model. And that way, when they start clicking that, it's also going to increase your reading time, increase your visibility on Google, just to make sure that you also have a much bigger structure as well. Welcome, John. Thanks for being here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic.
Love to hear more. By the way, it's a pleasure to be here with you. And so here's what I've been doing. The internal links thing, and I want to hear more about it, is I rate on average one blog post a day. And in each blog post, it's going to have a minimum of 2 to 3 links to my own stuff. So I'd love to hear more about the way to build the links. And it's the big question is, do I do the internal or do the whole URL and embed the link?
Wait, before I answer, you said, do I do internal or embed the whole link? Is it like the YouTube links, like the bigger, I would say the longer links?
Well, they're all embedded. So like, for example, in the blog post, it will say, listen to this podcast episode, and the title of the podcast episode, and the whole thing is linked. But I use the entire URL from my website. I don't do YouTube stuff, but and then blog posts will be read this free article. But that's why. So the internal is, you can sometimes just pick, depending on the platform, where we're going to embed the URL, and it'll say, I'll give you a choice of internal pages. I'd opt for the entire URL.
Okay, so I want to break this down so that, and then let me know if it makes sense too. So the entire URL of a link is going to be different for every web page within
Correct.
the website.
Correct.
So if I'm going to link, let's say, episode 139 to 236 back to 5, then each of those 3 links are going to have their own independent pathways. And then those internal links are going to be where people can find that context within the next set. And the only way they're going to know that that's what they're clicking to is if they read that information, because they're clicking on the episode 5 or episode this, because that's what they're reading and that's what they're clicking to. So when you do that and you're now putting that on top of a text that you've typed, and now you've highlighted the text and then put a link into the text, that's where having the right name, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier today, is when you put the same name of the URL that is in text or in sentence case format with the URL that is highlighted into the actual text, it now becomes a sandwich effect, because now you're connecting 2 things together, something someone can read and something also the algorithm can understand. And then that's how you're able to bridge those 2 together. Is that the same thing you're referring to, John?
Yeah, the only difference is, for example, every page has got a unique name. So what I'll do is I'll bring up the page name and the URL, and I'll copy the URL. And for example, in the blog post, it'll say, read this article titled "The Zodiac Killer is America's Enduring Mystery," which is a top performer. And then I'll highlight the entire thing and I'll link it to that link. I won't put the link name anywhere in there. It'll just be embedded.
Yeah, I would do that too. And you know, the other thing you mentioned about embedding from another third party, is also important to do that, because when somebody watches an Instagram reel, looks at a post, you know, TikTok video, YouTube short, Threads, X, all of them do that. All social media platforms do that. Even Pinterest, a search platform like that, does it too. And you copy that whole text. Even, I would even say podcasts. You know, you go to Spotify, you say share this episode, and then to say copy link or embed this episode. Then when you embed this episode, it will give you that long link. You copy it, paste it into your website. Now someone is indirectly clicking on your link, which is an internal link, but it's not really internal, because it's internal contextually because it's on your website, but it's external because it's coming from a third-party website. So what you've done is that instead of them going to, let's say, youtube.com to watch the same video, they're on your website watching the same YouTube video, but on your page. The same thing for your podcast. So if you say, listen to this episode, and then there's a link, and that link will take you to another page on your site that has the episode, but at the same time, you have an embedded link, which is now embedded to the page. That's also going to increase the amount of watch time or listen time, because someone, instead of them even clicking to it, they can see it, but they can preview it now because they can scan the link and they can actually read it or watch it or view it in real time before they actually commit to clicking and say, okay, let me just click this Instagram and follow the account from Google. So that's where that benefit comes from, because you're able to get external referrals from internal sources.
No, that makes sense. And I have, in every episode of the podcast, I have a link to the website, and I also have links to the Apple podcast version and the Spotify version, but I've not been doing the YouTube. So I think I'll start trying that.
Yeah, it's a game changer, because when you have these links and they're available, it helps, especially even in your LinkedIn newsletter. Imagine having YouTube embedded links in your newsletter. I do that. You should do too if you're listening, because these are huge signals that you're sending traffic from sources that you want people to show up consistently on those platforms. So if you have YouTube links, and in those YouTube links, your own website links are there in the description box, it's a win-win, because now YouTube has a tokenization of your post. In other words, it has a duplicate copy of your website. So the original, they'll click on it, will take them to your actual website. If your website was updated August 28th or updated September 1st or updated today, October 2nd, that is going to be based on what you last modified. So when you now structure internal links and then you're now republishing links, it's like a machine. Like, just think about this, y'all. You have 10 links on your website. Every link has at least 2 or 3 internal links. Now, if you have, let's keep it to 2. Let's keep it base level. So if there are 2 links for every one page, and now you have 10 pages, that means you have 20 links that are internally connected to each other. Blog 1 could be connected to blog 6. Blog 7 could be interconnected to blog 12. So by the time you're looking at the number of blogs you start producing on top of what you already started, the first 10 already has a good set. Then the next 10 has another set. So by the time you're in episode or blog 30 or blog 50, you've covered so much context that if I start from episode 39 or blog 5, I can find my way to blog 12 because you talked about something maybe a week later, because blog 5 was maybe a Monday the week prior, and blog 12 was a week after, within another year cycle, maybe 3 years prior. So if you really think about the internal links, it's a game changer, because all you have to do is go to the actual link. Think about it. I feel like it's like you're putting mines right on the websites, because anytime you update one link, it updates the full entire website. So imagine if you've been interlinking to all these web pages. You don't have to go to all these web pages and update them and update them and update them and update them. You can just go to one of them that you want to update that has access to maybe 10 other blogs and update that one. So when you update that one to the power of 20, that means 20 other links with this one, including yours, has been republished. So that means if I have an internal link on another page and I just publish this internal link, that's a signal to the algorithm. That means that this internal link, on top of the other prior links or other links that are relevant that probably haven't been updated, still gives me a signal effect, because now I have a new link and I'm having a new blog to an old site. And now this old site has old links that I've probably not updated all of them. But because I have a new page that is connected to this one updated article, now I have a new signal from 2 different sources, because I have 2 different pages that are sourced from I would say like another 10 internal links. So if you think about the compound effect of putting these links together, it's a win-win-win. You win, the end user, the visitor wins, and then the algorithm wins because everybody is now able to understand what we're here for. It's a 3-string chord that can be broken. So if you look at the internal link structure, and then you now, of course, add external links because people say, hey, I don't want to connect to another page that's an external link. Why not? Why not? Wikipedia is the top, I would say like number one, if not top 3. It's probably number 1, yes. And it's one of the top websites in the world, Wikipedia. Yet they have the most internal links on their website. Click on any page in Wikipedia, it will internally link you to another page, to another page, to another page, to another page, to another page. Why? Because all these pages are talking to each other. I'm always going to modify the first one, or I'm going to modify this page, it's going to modify the rest of them. It's a snowball effect. So if you really understand the value of internal linking, then you understand that it's a compound interest effect. Instead of just linking to anything because you want to highlight something, your structure will change and the positioning will definitely change. John, how do you do internal links for your podcast?
So what I do, like I'm trying to multitask and I'm lousy at that, Favor. So first of all, I treat each podcast, this is something you talked about, I learned from you. I treat every podcast I do as a blog post. And I really focus on the keywords and keyword density, all that stuff, so they get the most exposure. And then when I promote that on social media, particularly Facebook and Instagram, where I have links, got to remember to set that to public. Make sure it's set to public, not private, because then it's discoverable in Google. So each episode of the podcast, I'll have traditionally links to my website, that episode, because it's also on Believe, and then it goes for the pod page, the website, the Apple Podcast, Spotify version for the episode, and now I'm adding YouTube. What I've been doing is I'm going to take what I've been doing with my blogs, which have been very successful, and move it over to the podcast so I can add more links to each page.
Yes, the more links you have to each page, the more depth you have to each, I'll call it each search. Because every search, leads to a specific page, and that page has a set number of links internally and externally. So yeah, definitely it plays a big role into that. And when I look at links now, I'm going to go a little technical into this so that I don't miss out on this too. When you look at these links, especially if you're creating them as blogs, for example, or articles, or anything you like to call it that's a written document, there's something called do follow and no follow. So when you hear do follow and no follow, it sends a signal to the search engines. Even though it's an internal link, you want to make sure these things are either on or off depending on the criteria or depending on the situation. So I'll give you 2 scenarios so you can see what do follow and no follow is. Do follow means that if I click do follow, if let's say I highlight this text, I copy the link that I want to paste into this highlighted text, I paste it, https:// fill in the blank, then I would paste that link into that text. Now the text has turned from black to blue, meaning that it's turned from just being a basic text, which is XML text. In other words, if you look at HTML and XML, I'll call it site-wise, HTML are the blue links that we click on, right? In an email, you click on a blue link. On Google, you click on a blue link. On something, right? Online, you click on a blue link or another color, but it's a link. Now, when you look at these blue links, right, these links are active. That's HTML. XML, right, is expandable markup language, different from HTML, which is hypertext markup language. So the expandable markup language, which is the XML, is a public sitemap, which is going to be a representation of your website from the brain of the site page or the site entirely. So if there's something called a do follow means that if I turn this do follow on, That means that I'm telling the search engines that please follow this link to where it's coming from, because I'm linking to another source. And if I want to link to another source, that's going to be considered as a backlink. So think about that. And a backlink is not just only as a do follow, it's also a no follow, but there are different criteria for that. So don't mix it up. So a do follow is telling a search engine that you want to attribute this link to this source, right? You want to say, okay, claim this source. This source is where you want it to be. Welcome, Stephanie. So when you click this link and it's a do follow, that's a signal to the algorithm that this link has been clicked on, and now it's a do follow, meaning that there's a signal effect that shows interest. That's simply what it means. Now, a no follow is the same thing with a backlink. The only difference is if it's a no follow and somebody clicks on it, I'm not going to get that signal effect that says, hey, I attribute, or I would call it endorsement, just to give it lack of a better word. I'm not endorsing this link, but I'm citing this link. I'm suggesting the link, but I'm not endorsing it. I just hope it's making sense. So when you have a do follow and a no follow, it's different. For example, I remember when this was a time when I was, connecting, and I still do, in between time with SEMrush, great company. And I remember when I got a no follow link from them. So a no follow link means that if somebody was to search for anything when it comes to like agencies or marketing, it's not going to attribute to that link, but it's going to be there and available on the net. It's going to be available on the web, but you're not getting any of SEMrush's endorsement as far as a domain authority suggestion, because that link is also a temporary link. It's not going to be a link that's going to be there all the time. It could be, depending on how much you want to invest in your plan, but that link is going to be accessible for someone who is looking for that information that you've paid for. But it's a no follow, but you get access to a database within the same domain authority. So don't mix that up. But when you have internal links are great. If you're looking at external links, an external link could be a link to your LinkedIn. An external link could be a link to your social media link. An external link could be a link to your podcast, to your Amazon book. It could be anything outside your property. Your property is your domain, and anything outside your domain that you're linking outside from your website.com is an external link. Anything that you're linking within your domain is an internal link. So the best way to structure it is if you say, hey, if you want to read more sports editions, click here. And then that click here is matching up with the sports edition. Or you can just simply say, read more news, Sports Digest, you highlight that. Health Digest, you highlight that. Mental Health Digest, you highlight that. If that's what you're doing as a brand and you've highlighted all those things, people will now know, I'm going to click on this link. It will take me to the category of the website that has all the blogs talking about mental health, all the blogs talking about health, all the topics, related to food or whatever else your business is going to do. So when you now create these internal links, you're opening it up like I'll call it like a tree, because with a tree you have different branches, you have different fruits, you have different seeds. So you're giving people a different experience every time. That's the same thing that should be with your website. So if you're linking to someone and someone's linking back to you, these links are going to have access points. And these access links are going to have a much directive effect. So best way to structure your links is, if you want to be locally connected, highlight the text of the place you want to locally show up. If you want to even go deeper than that and highlight text, words, keywords. If you highlight the keywords you get from Answer the Public, Answer Socrates, from Also Asked, from SparkToro, from Glimpse, from Google, from Bing, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, wherever you go, and you find all these platforms, there are so many out there, right? There's also one of them called LLM Refs. Wherever you go, you will find all these amazing words. And I know it sounds like a shiny object now because you're hearing, oh wow, all these tools, oh my goodness, I can use all of them. Yeah, great. But if none of them are being connected back to your website and your internal links are not strong, It's going to be hard for someone to link back to you. It's kind of like saying you can't just build without having a structure. You need to have a structure before you build. You need a blueprint before you build. You need to know the metrics. You need to know the dimensions. So when you're structuring your website and you have topics, base your topics on these things. So look at high page authority websites. You can also link to them. That's one way you can also win. You can do external links, link to those websites, link to Reddit pages, link to, statistic pages, link to, data pages, link to those pages that have authority. And then the more you do that, the more authority you show up with, because everyone starts at zero. Nobody has a head start. But if you're able to do it fast enough and structure it well enough, you can really go far. And far enough will not even be far enough, because it will be farther than far, just depending on how far you want to go. So I wanted to just make sure we can talk about this well and really structure it down. John, if there's anything you'd like to let people know, what would that thing be when it comes to structuring internal links for their website?
I think you got everything. I'm just going to say this, and people often knows I'm going to say this. So I've been doing my podcast for 9 years now. It took 7 years to get the first 1 million downloads. In the next 2+ years, I have now about 13 million total downloads. The difference is SEO. Doing what Favour suggested, working on things, working on keywords, working on links, working on all that stuff. And the keywords really applies not just the traditional SEO, Google and all that stuff, but also the podcast directories, Apple and Spotify. They use the same principles. So SEO really will pay off for you big time, and it'll deliver traffic when you were off at the beach doing other things. So yeah, Favour, I listen to what you say intently.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And I hope you're also listening too, if you're listening, because it's very important to actively listen and not passively. You can, and then turn the passive into active and back into passive, because like John said, once you're able to do this and it's a no-brainer, it's easier for you to start accessing new territories, new zones, new keywords. Like anytime, this is something I do, and I'll tell you this for free. Every time I write an article, every time you see a podcast episode, every time you see a room on Clubhouse, every time you see something out there was research done. And I was able to know, okay, who out there is talking about this? How recent is this information? Because if it's not recent, look at us. We're in the fourth quarter. We're barely in the fourth quarter. It's day 2. So imagine if I'm doing a 30-day run. For the rest of the 60 days after the first 30, I won't have to worry about this, because I've already talked about it in a way that is enough for someone to make a decision. And at the same time, I've given it time to breathe, time to grow, time to germinate, time to build. Things take time, but it's depending on how you work that. How are you able to double? How are you able to compound your time? So if you're able to compound your interests, focusing on topics people like to focus on, type on, search through, and you're putting them there, it's great. And even now, I noticed it today, even the Flowdesk article, because I would love to know your thoughts about this, John, because I was been talking about Flowdesk like all through yesterday. I wrote an article letting people know, hey, sign up. I even talked to Flowdesk team, internally. I was like, hey guys, it's time to really, talk this thing out there, because there's a lot of great analysis and great things that you can do with the platform, especially when it comes to internal linking, because when you're creating even emails, your emails are coming from ESPs. They're going to these platforms, and at the same time, they're coming from sources. So if let's say you're using Flowdesk and someone else is using Breville. Now, when you look at the deliverability, you can do your Google search or ChatGPT search and find it. You'll find an AI search and you'll see it too in the answer engines. That when you look at the deliverability of these platforms, they are very different. So when I look at Flowdesk, and they're partnered with Amazon, they have great deliverability services, you have really high numbers, then that is also a signal in the algorithm, because you're not just sending an email. This email that you're sending out, you had to do a domain authentication. In other words, you'd have to print, copy and paste text TXT, whether it's a CNAME, canonical name, you have to put in some type of text that they're going to tell you to copy and paste into the values of your DNS records, which is your domain name server, before you send out an email. Because the last thing you want to do is send an email and it bounces, especially if it's a massive list you have and it bounces. That's a red flag. So that puts you kind of like in the red zone. And sometimes you don't want to stay there. You do not even want to be there in the first place. That's what it's going to sound like. So for you to not even get into that zone at all, you have to think about your authenticity, your ethics, your compliance, your servers. How are you serving information? How are you serving data? How are you serving keywords? All these things that we're talking about, text, image, video, it's all in an email, yes, but at the same time, it's going through a server. And if your Flowdesk, for example, is a great server, that's a great domain, because that domain authority also supports you because it's a brand. It's a brand partnership. When you choose a certain table or you choose a certain type of power handle or you choose a certain type of car, it's because you want to be affiliated with the brand. Not so much about the brand itself, but the feeling of what you get from the brand. You can get it from other places, but there's something unique. Maybe it might be something memorable. It might be something personal. It might be something sentimental. It might be something you just don't know. But at the end of the day, if this thing is something that is going to be very important to you, then it's going to play a big role into how you structure it. So before we go, what are your thoughts on Flowdesk and the email sequence, especially coming from, Constant Contact?
So here's, by the way, Flowdesk is so easy to use. It's a little bit stripped down compared to Constant Contact. But I think I do a Constant Contact I can do there. The big advantage is it's saving me it's a little more than $100 a month, which is tremendous savings. So I'm still experimenting on it, but so far I like it. The deliverability seems to be right on target with what Constant Contact was. Might be a little bit less, but it really, when I stack up if its deliverability is a little bit less than Constant Contact, it more than makes up for the savings price. So that's what I'm looking at. Literally, my Constant Contact was $131 a month, and it was growing every time I added more subscribers, and I was adding more constantly. And Flowdesk does not. It's $35 a month, regardless of how many subscribers I have. So that right there is a game changer for me.
Yes, it's definitely a game changer. And don't worry about the deliverability, because what you're doing right now, John, is that you're warming up the engine again. And that's why it's not going to pull those numbers that you saw. But the more you send out emails within that engine, it's kind of like a car. The more you warm up the engine, the faster it can drive. So right now you're warming it up. So the more emails you send, the more segments you create, the more sequences you build, the more workflows you sequence, then eventually it's just going to pick up on its own. And then you start seeing those numbers in your analytics and you'll be like, oh, wow, okay, it's really moving, because you've warmed it up and people are now more used to seeing your content from that server as opposed to it coming from a different server before.
Yeah, I really appreciate the tip, and I know you've talked about it many times before I pulled the trigger on it, but I reached out to Favour and said, hey, what is the name of that email? I want to check it out, and it's been a game changer, and it looks like the radio station I do a lot of work for is going to be moving from Constant Contact to Flowdesk as well, so that's 2 more companies.
What? Oh, wow, John, that's amazing to hear. I'm happy to hear that. Definitely, it's a big game changer, and the fact that you can do it now, especially with I just think about radio stations. I don't even know what most of them use. I wish I could do a study on that. That would be really nice, because if you look at the number of emails most people have, it's in masses, it's in huge numbers, and you're spending hundreds of dollars for this that you could have put into advertising or payroll or savings, investments, or partnerships, or whatever it is, sponsorships. You could create a whole new, budget line for it, and it's going all the way to this platform. But just imagine if these platforms are able to use something so simplistic like this. It's easy to work through. and it's a disruptive. I was reading somewhere when I was doing some research on Flowdesk, and I saw it on LinkedIn, and I agree. Someone said that, and when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, me too. I would definitely say the same thing too, because it feels like that. Flowdesk is like, it's not even is like, it is a disruptive brand, because every other brand that I know that sends emails are heavily based on standard tier pricing. They're just about to start that. But for the last 7 years, because they were founded in 2018 and I joined 2019, when it was $19 a month for the same bandwidth we're getting today from Amazon. Think about that, $19 a month. That's how it first started. That's how I joined. I was like, $19 for this, and I'm paying Constant Contact double, $38 at that time. I was like, this is a no-brainer. Why not? And I've been there ever since. Now I'm a Flowdesk partner. Now I'm connected with the team. Now I'm internally knowing what's happening. Now it's really exciting to see where it's growing. And I love disruptive branding, because I look at it, and someone said too on LinkedIn that Flowdesk is like Netflix. It's like Airbnb. It's a disruptive brand. It's like Tesla, because these are brands that came out of the norm and did something that not everyone does. Who pays $19 a month for, if you had 100,000, 1 million subscribers in your email and you're paying $19 a month? Where do you see that at? Now it's $35 a month. And now it's about to change from that to new pricing if you don't sign up before November 28th. So it's really about what you want in life and how you want to take this forward. But to me, if you're doing this consistently and you don't have to worry about those overhead costs, those are things that you don't even think about anymore, because you've taken care of them ahead of time. And it's a no-brainer. So I'd love to hear, what happens, John, with the radio station and how they're able to sequence, Flowdesk too. And there's also University, by the way, university.flowdesk.com. That's where you can get all the information for free. And I don't even know if any other platform does universities like that, end to end.
I will let you know when they do. And one of the things they're working on right now, and this is without going into a lot of details. So they have a CRM company and communication with past customers. So what they've done is they've now found a way to download every contact for the past customers. And let's just say, I'm using the number 30,000. They can load those 30,000. They've had prior business relationship with these into their Flowdesk account and then do a permission pass. Then when they have special offers, whatever it might be, sales offers, they can go back and revisit them. The whole point of this, using the email marketing and social media, we're doing paid Facebook ads and a lot of other things, is they want people and businesses that are looking for them to contact them. It's cheaper for potential clients to contact you than it is to send out a salesperson to beat the bushes and read 5, 6, 7, or 8 people and to get no's. No, this is people that want information from them, and loading them in Flowdesk is a simple thing. Once it's loaded, you spend about 20 minutes getting your email together, send it out, and it's delivered by that day. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it definitely is a no-brainer, and it saves you time, money, energy, thinking, and just processing, especially the polls feature. I love that so much, because imagine doing polls and landing pages, asking people, segmenting those emails and getting to know how they work. It's huge. When we look at clients that have 30,000, 50,000 over that plus emails, when it comes to sending out structured emails and segmented emails, triggered emails, scheduled emails, these are all emails that are going to websites, and all these websites have data, they have intelligence, they have pages, they have domains, they have servers. So it's like you're working a whole system without even realizing what's going on. And I love the fact that it can really be very simplistic without it having to be sophisticated to achieve the same result. And that's why, Flowdesk has been winning for me. And I think I don't know any other platform that will beat it unless there are others. But, till then, we'll see. But when it comes to cost effectiveness, when it comes to convenience, when it comes to speed and deliverability, is on the higher side, because the Flowdesk is that engine that the more you warm it up, the more it gives back to you. Like, emails are so beautiful. Like, you send out one email, and people are still checking it out. You see how long people are last active in the last, 12 hours, 24 hours. I sent an email once, and 30 days later, people are still opening emails the day of the time you opened it, yet you sent your last email 30 days prior. So it really shows you what's happening, and you're able to really understand, okay, this is the last active 30-day members, or these people have been active on my email for the last 7 days. Let me send them a poll and say, hey, what you searching for? How can I help you? That customer service, that email response, it's big, because when someone connects with you on LinkedIn or responds back and say, hey, I need help, or hey, thank you for helping, or hey, I appreciate that message, it goes a long way. So definitely using all these platforms will help. And that's why we talk about structural linking and structural marketing, because email marketing, digital marketing, internal links, they all start with all these things. And that's the best way to do it, guys. So I hope you guys learned something. If you have any question, please reach out to me. Feel free to connect with me and we can make it happen. You can go to playinc.online, playinc.online, or go to wedon'tplaypodcast.com and you can get started today and get on a call. Let's talk about all the things that you need and get it going so that you can actually see where your business is flowing, whether it's national, international, or even regional, and definitely local, because charity begins at home. So thank you, John. Thank you, Austin, Mr. Chris, Jay, Nick, and Joe. Thank you all for being here. I will be back again. I'll definitely give you guys another room like this. I have a lot of topics to come with, and this is not just the only one. I've been doing this, I think, since September, early September. So I'm still going in, and I still want to make sure that you are aware of these topics. So today we've covered what's the best way to structure internal links. I'm going to be talking about how do I optimize my meta tags for higher click-through rates. That's what I'm going to talk about next. So we'll talk about that, and let's keep the conversation going. And when I'm done with all these topics, I don't have to talk about them again because I've already mentioned them before, and it's just a modification after that. So thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Have a wonderful day. I look forward to connecting with you guys. And this is a Thursday. See y'all soon, and God bless. Take care. Now, that was an episode, right? Thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I'm so glad that you're here and you are sticking tight with us, especially to the very end. Now, this is season 11 and we're going to do it differently. And I want to make sure that every episode you listen to has something to give back so that you can also learn more after you listen. Now, We Don't Play podcast show is where you listen, you live, you learn, and you earn. So if you're in any of those positions out of those four, please make sure that you reach out to me. Send out an email through info@playinc.online. That's info@playinc.online. Or you could go to playinc.online, which is a website, www.playinc.online, playinc.online, and schedule a call so that we can get you on an SEO discovery call to talk about your business and help you with your marketing needs. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this helped you. See you in the next episode. God bless you. Jesus loves you. Bye.